and welcome to a special episode of FAFOCult. Today's episode is going to be about starting your gourmet mushroom business from the ground up. We're going to talk to two different people who are doing that, me, who have already done it. We got Trim, who is starting his journey on this, and he's doing it not only for education, to help out do community stuff, but also because it's fun.
Oh, that's the greatest.
Yeah.
Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, until it becomes work. So let's see. Decision-making process of how you start your gourmet business, mushroom business. For me, it was pretty easy. The wife went to the grocery store to buy some food. And while she was there, she had bought some fancy mushrooms, right? There's one of these really upscale grocery stores we have around here. And she bought some fancy mushrooms and brought them home and made this dish, and it was super good. And I was like, wow, those are really cool looking, like, because they're all different colors. At the time, I didn't know what they were. Some were fuzzy, some were yellow, some were pink. It was cool. They didn't taste like those crappy little button mushrooms, well, I associate mushroom flavor with shitty beef stroganoff from the early 90s, right? Like with three cans of those button mushrooms that are like way overly canned and super slimy, sluggy. So I was completely impressed.
Pack them in garlic butter back in the day too.
It's not high quality garlic butter. It's like garlic Crisco.
Yep.
And so I was impressed. Like, hey, this is really good. We should have this more often. She's like, well, they're really expensive. And I was like, it didn't seem like there was that many of them. And so I pulled out the receipt, and she bought 2 ounces of this one, 2 ounces of that one, 3 or 4 ounces of that one. And it was like $60 fucking dollars. I was like, what the hell? Is this just made of gold? It can't be that damn expensive. And so I Googled how to grow gourmet mushrooms. And kind of the rest is a history. And that was way long time ago.
Yeah.
And that was back, I don't even think, I think it was Yahoo Search at the time.
Yeah. Well, my story is similar but different. Many moons ago, a lot of people don't know this about me, I used to work at a commercial mushroom farm. And we had acres and acres upon acres of white button mushrooms growing, or white button mushrooms growing, correct? Well, yeah. Every once in a while we get these special mushrooms in from the satellite farms, they always called it. And at first I didn't know what the heck they were talking about. And then these mushrooms were always different. They were packaged in a different room and they were handled differently and everything. And I finally started getting into what's going on here? And they said, well, we pay farmers to set up these little gourmet mushroom growing operations off to the side, and then they sell their mushrooms back to us. We paid, or this company paid the farmers to set it up, and then they bought the mushrooms. Nice. And they would grow all your portobellos and your enokis and your commercially available gourmets. They weren't quite the ones that we see now as gourmets, but at the time they grew differently than a white button, so they had to be grown in a separate building. And that kind of got the seed in my thought, someday I want to be a satellite farmer, because they were making good money back then. And slowly I learned how to do it over the years.
That was just always the kind of do-it-yourself guy, right? That's me. If we ate something and it was really good, I always wanted to figure out how to make it or do it. We had some really good cheese one time, and so I got to cheese making, to try to. Well, I'd already made regular cheese, but I wanted to make that type of cheese. So I mean, it's just kind of always one of those type do it thing. Now that started a very, very deep rabbit hole, the learning to grow mushrooms thing. And this was quite a long time ago when, there was very scant information and even print books in our local library. So I had shitty Yahoo boards and GeoCity boards, which most of our listeners aren't even familiar with, to go and kind of read information.
Yeah, I'd visit those satellite farmers, and I'd have to probably, make excuses to go help and, fix some little widget or valve or something. And I'd ask questions every time I was there. And a lot of them did not want to share the information back then. I mean, that was like nuclear secrets to get their information on how they grew these things until you finally find the one guy that opens up to you. But it was hard back in the day to get any information at all.
Oh, yeah. It was impossible to find anything that was straightforward, step by step. A lot of it was just fucking around. And a lot of it back then was still growing in like hay bales, growing on like actual tree limbs and like stumps that you would like bury half in the ground and, cover with leaf litter and things and try to get it to grow as natural as possible.
Yep.
And it wasn't until like I guess the early 2000s that things kind of picked up, and it started being like, hey, you can grow these on all these different substrates, and it became a lot easier to do. Growing them back in the day, it was. Let's see if I can remember how we did it. We took like some sugary water type stuff. Picked out a mushroom you liked that looked clean from the middle of a clump, ground it up into this sugary water stuff, and then it had some like other nutrients and shit in there. And then you would pour it over the area you wanted to grow the mushrooms after a couple of days with a bubbler in it. So you're basically making like the shittiest, most contaminated liquid culture possible, and then pouring it over the area you wanted to grow the mushrooms in, and hoping something happened after a week of the aquarium bubbler.
Hopefully,
and it worked.
And praying that your mushrooms were the strong in the group. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it worked. I hit so many. I probably ground hundreds of dollars worth of mushrooms over several years with a stick blender in buckets of, sugary water.
Or buttermilk or something crazy.
Yeah. Some of them use buttermilk. The shiitakes use buttermilk. The enokis use buttermilk. But I don't remember what it was for this was a long time ago, for like the trumpets. It was sugar water and something. I don't remember what the something was. But I think it was something stupid too that we don't even think to use today. It was like I think the Nesco milk powder for like kids.
Oh, infant formula. Okay.
Yeah.
Or Ovaltine.
But it was like this. Yeah, it was kind of like Ovaltine. It was like for toddlers. It wasn't for like babies.
Meal,
it was
like meal replacement. I got you.
Yeah, it was like that. But like very weak. It was like 1 scoop per 5-gallon bucket. So like that one gallon can lasted.
What was that stuff they back in the Carnation Instant Breakfast? Probably something along
this was. Yeah, I think this one was called Nesco. Or Nesco, and it was like
it sounds familiar.
Can. Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
But anyway, you do that, and you put the bubbler on it, like just like aquarium bubbler, and you leave it alone for a week somewhere. You put a top on it, or stretch some clear plastic over it, and leave it for a freaking week, and then it would look all cloudy. And sometimes that was a good thing, and sometimes it was a bad thing. Did it smell good? Did it smell earthy? There was a whole bunch of stupid shit involved in it. And then you'd pour it out, like blend it up real good and pour it out places. And it worked really well on hay bales. Like you'd get whole hay bales growing. And they'd flush really, really well all at once. And then 5-gallon bucket tech came along where you would, basically pour boiling water over your like hay and your sticks and your like shredded paper and stuff in a 5-gallon bucket, and like basically bucket tech it. Then you would drill holes in the bucket and let just water drain out, and then you would inoculate it with your serum crap, and it would grow, and it would just all come out the holes in the bucket. It worked. It worked pretty good. It was a little bit more successful, and then finally, it wasn't until like the 2000s where like grain spawn and being more sterile and oven tech got more like acceptable, and then you started being able to buy cultures like other people had got like clean cultures online, and that was when it really like I started keeping like liquid culture jars and like being sterile. Like sterile technique really kicked off in like like maybe 2000, like 2000, like 2001. Yeah. So yeah, and then we started growing a bunch of mushrooms. Tried selling a bunch of mushrooms. Experimented with a bunch of substrates. Nowadays, people are really lucky. They have a whole bunch of stuff to choose from. Right? You've got pre-made substrates. I mean, God, you guys are so easy. You could basically look at something and
almost information overload now. It's you pick it the way you want to do things now. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's a million right ways to do things now. And back in the day, there was probably one way to do things and a whole bunch of that's going to fucking suck ways to do things.
Like one out of 20 successes. Yep.
Yeah, if that, man. But back then, things were a lot cheaper than they are now. Like, hay bales were only like, $4 or $5 a piece. So you could buy quite a few of them. And so if a few dozen of them died, it didn't really matter. Yeah, so and then it's evolved from there. So if we fast forward to today, how would I do it today? Step one is that I would go ahead and get a DBA or an LLC. If you're serious about doing this, get a DBA or LLC. Now, the difference between the two is an LLC is its own entity. It's a limited liability company. It's going to cost you It's going to cost you a couple $100, depending on what state you're in. I think it's like $220 here for the filing and all the legal paperwork and the notary, and just out the door.
Yeah. Like I said, it all depends on the state that you're in for that part, for the
price. Or you can do a DBA. DBA is doing business as. So, like, if you wanted to have, let's say, Butterfly Kisses mushrooms, and you were like, your name was John Smith, you're gonna go John Smith. You're gonna go get a DBA, and you're gonna register it as John Smith DBA Butterfly Kisses mushrooms. All right, and you'll be able to sign then legally documents as Butterfly Kisses mushrooms. You'll have a tax ID number. You'll be able to go then and buy stuff wholesale, register your business.
You'll be able to get an Amazon business account or lots of other business accounts. Yep.
A whole bunch of different stuff. Now, there's no real protections for you as a DBA, whereas an LLC. So let's talk about the protections a little bit, because I don't think people really understand that. As an LLC, if something goes wrong, if you're just a completely incompetent jackass,
you sell death caps to people.
Yeah, you sell death caps to people as pink fucking trumpets or some shit like that. Then or lion's mane because you're a jackass. You fucked it up so bad you can't tell the difference between the two. Then if you have an LLC, they can only, when they sue you, take what's in the LLC, things the LLC owns that are registered with the LLC. So like if you register your car with the LLC should have its own separate bank account. They can take all the assets involved in the LLC, but none of your personal shit. You're not like your house, your car, your Xbox, your blow up doll. None of that shit. They can't take any of that from you.
But
if you're doing a DBA,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Finish. Go ahead and finish. No.
If you're doing a DBA, it's open season because you are the business, so they can come after you for whatever. In this litigious society, it's probably just fine. I started as a DBA. I still have a couple of small businesses that we do run to this day as DBAs because there's something that you can't really fuck up that hard, to really screw anything up, like soap making, stupid stuff like that. So, but like as far as mushrooms go, a DBA is probably okay. At this point of listening to this podcast, if you listen to the last 50 some odd episodes, you should freaking know by now what the difference between a death cap mushroom and a pink oyster.
Yeah, right? And if you don't know the difference, you need to do a little more research before you start a business. Yeah.
You were going to say?
I was going to say
LLCs.
LLC. One little slight tidbit, like you said, a separate business bank account for the LLC. Do not treat your LLC bank account as your personal piggy bank, because that will get you in trouble. Then it becomes embezzling from your own. Yeah, it becomes embezzling if you just start paying your bills with it. So you got to be careful with that part. It's a separate entity.
If you own it, I don't know. Don't fucking know. But you're still embezzling from yourself. Victim was fucking crime, but still they're gonna get you for it.
Right, because the tax man wants his money. That's what it all comes down to. If you give yourself money for anything, give yourself a paycheck and you're fine. Yep.
One thing that we do is that we have all of our vehicles owned in an LLC. So we own, like, it's like blah, 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 our name Mobility Inc., right? LLC. And so all of our vehicles and all of our stuff with motors is owned by an LLC. We get cheaper insurance rates. We can write off a whole bunch of different things for different businesses, use them to transport things for different businesses and write it off. A whole bunch of cool shit. Plus, if you ever get in an accident, the worst thing they could do is take your car. They can't sue you personally.
Yep.
So LLC with your vehicles, well, today and the way litigious culture is, probably not a bad idea. Think of it as an investment. So
a slight insurance.
Let's say you've decided now that you want to start your mushroom company. That's great. Pick something. Don't grow everything.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to grow everything well.
Project creep is real.
Oh, God. Bad real. So pick something. Like, I'd say if you're going to do mushrooms to sell to the public, I would say that shiitake and lion's mane are going to be the two that are going to be the most profitable by far. Shiitake because everybody fucking loves them. Lion's mane because of neurogenesis. I wouldn't even try to sell the fresh fruit. Yeah, I wouldn't even try to sell the fresh fruit. I would dehydrate it all and sell it as powder online.
Yep.
Never even need
lion's mane powder with no fillers. You got to add that in there because that's a big thing right now.
Yeah. Totally organic, no fillers, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. I would never do a farmer's market. I'd never set up at a farmer's market. I would never go through that version of Fresh Health.
And make sure on your packaging that it says it's a supplement. That way you get away from all the FDA rules as soon as you say it's a supplement.
If you have your heart set on just doing a direct to consumer farmers market type situation, pick something easy, not shiitake. Shiitake. Don't try to do farmers market shiitake. Shiitake are one of those things that you grow and you sell to 2 or 3 businesses, but aren't going to be reliable enough to sell at a farmer's market consistently all the time. Just because they grow in big flushes and then nothing, and then big flushes and then nothing.
And it's a long time between the flushes.
Yeah, big long time between the flushes. But when they flush, you've got shiitake coming out your earlobes. But they freeze dry well, they dry well, they powder well to make different salts and spices.
Yeah. And if you live in an urban area, you can have deals with a few really high end restaurants and sell them what's in season for you. Like you can let them know, hey, I have shiitakes coming in season, and then they will change their menu and say, oh look, fresh in season shiitake plates of this and this and this, and that's how you get around that. You never know; they're not predictable enough for a steady income.
Yeah, if you're going to do like your oysters, and you want to sell those at a farmer's market, perfectly fine. Those you could set your clock by it.
Yep.
They're extremely oysters and trumpets are extremely predictable. You can have massive amounts of them ready every few days ad infinitum. The problem with that is that you can have massive amounts of them infinitum forever and not have anywhere to sell them because everybody and their dog is doing the same thing. If you live in a big city, you have competition and a lot of competition with it. Okay? So you definitely need to come up with a different twist on it.
Yeah.
Just selling fresh ones, instead of, and I'm not trying to scare anybody away from setting up at a farmer's market. It's a lot of fun. If you're a people person, which I don't know any mushroom growers that are people persons. Do you?
I've never met any yet. I know I can't look in the mirror and see one.
Yeah, I know. Like I've never met like any mushroom growers that are like people persons. They're more of the we like complicated technical procedures and really cool sciencey shit to get to a product. We're not like influencers, right? We're not like, yeah, man, everybody come on over, look at the mushrooms. We're just like buy our shit.
Follow my Instagram.
Yeah, we're bad at advertising for ourselves.
Yeah, we pull up our pictures on our phone instead of us at the beach. We have pictures of petri dishes.
Exactly. I can tell you, I probably have more pictures of petri dishes and like like oyster mushrooms and budding things and bags of substrate, and especially like everybody's listened to this for a while knows how much I love my cement mixer. I have probably as many cement mixer pictures as I do of my daughter.
By the way, I got to tell you the story about my cement mixer journey.
Okay.
Because I recently got one. Ordered it off of Amazon. And I'm sitting in the maintenance department at where I work, talking to the head of maintenance, and I'm looking over his shoulder, and he's browsing Amazon, and he's looking at cement mixers. And I was like, hey, buddy, what you doing? What you looking at there? He's like, oh, I need a cement mixer. We're putting a new sign up in front of the place, and I just need I don't want to call in a concrete truck, so I'm going to buy a cement mixer, he told me. I said, I got a deal for you, buddy. I got a cement mixer up here. You put it together. You can use it that once. I want it spick and span clean when you're done. And then I get it back fully assembled when you're done. And I went out there in the garage.
You out?
It took 4 guys to put it together. I went out there today, and it was all assembled and ready to go. It was beautiful. I was like, all right. And then the one guy's like, no, we ordered one. You're getting one in a box back. We're keeping this one. I was like, no, that was not the deal, buddy.
I tell people there's those are for mechanically inclined people.
Yeah, they were maintenance technicians. That's what they do for a living, is mechanics.
Yeah. Build stuff, fix stuff, make stuff. And it took 4 of them. I tell you, like, if you're not mechanically inclined, it is a bitch. Those things are 10 out of 10 difficult. They come in like 200 and some odd pieces. Yeah.
They said the spring-loaded handle took 3 guys alone, pulling different directions to get the thing in place.
Oh, yeah. That was just me and my toddler trying to get that thing in place. It was a party.
Yeah, I beat the system.
Oh, yeah, you did. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. You're going to love it. It's going to so speed up your life.
Oh, so it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, going back. Let's see. I got lost. We were talking about. Yeah, what were we talking about? Oh,
so your cement mixer. Yep.
Yeah, if you're gonna do a farmer's market, go ahead, guys. If you're gonna do that, I would suggest that you figure out how much you're gonna need. Add 25% to that, because you're gonna have some that aren't quite ready yet. Some that are they're gonna be ready in another 12 hours. Well, take those ones with you in a cooler to the show and put them out there on the desk and let people see them growing. Like, that's your best advertisement you can ever have.
Yeah, that's way they know they're getting fresh stuff. Yep, they know they're getting absolute fresh stuff that way.
People love that shit. And that was actually how I got into the most profitable thing for gourmet mushrooms, which is not the mushrooms themselves, but cut and grow bags. So a cut and grow bag is, you have your substrate, you have your grain spawn, you make a bunch of grain spawn, and you add it to your substrate, and in 2-pound bags or 3-pound bags at most. Some people will do 5 pounds, but I find that that's way too big for your average person. And then let that fully freaking colonize until it is so colonized, it's solid white all the way around. And it's so ready to go that as soon as you poke the smallest amount of hole, it's going to fruit. And then you sell that in a little box. I went on Amazon and I bought what looked like, I guess, Happy Meal boxes. They're basically Happy Meal boxes.
They're wedding gift boxes.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Yep.
They're black. And I chose black because of my company, and my logo looks really cool on them. And I went and I just print off a bunch of stickers with my logo, and put them all over it and then a sticker that had instructions. Like, hey, take me out. I went on AliExpress, which is like Alibaba, but it's like the Walmart version of Alibaba, where you can buy stuff without using like a through partner.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like Temu is now, where you can just buy stuff and it shows up your house. And I bought a whole bunch of these like 2-ounce spray bottles, like little.
Yep.
Yeah,
I got
put one of those in each. Yeah, I put one of those in each of the boxes. Put my little logo on there, a couple of care instructions, threw in some swag, like a sticker. I printed off a sticker with a QR
put lipstick
code
on the pig.
Yeah.
Lipstick on the pig.
A QR code that had a QR code stuck in the bottom of the box, so that when they took it out, they got a QR code that says like us on Facebook, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And they could take a picture of that QR code. It would take them to the Facebook and Instagram. And then if they uploaded a picture of their cut and grow fruiting, they got 25% off the next order. Right? And people loved these things because first off, they have a shelf life where if you're doing growing mushrooms to sell at a farmer's market, your shelf life is days. It's like 2 days, 3 days. You have to nail that farmer's market day. And it takes a little bit of time, but you'll get it figured out. It's actually so predictable. You can set your watch by growing trumpets. But the cut and grow bags, if you don't sell them 1 week, who gives a shit? Put them back on the shelf. Leave them in the box, a nice dark place. Make sure they're labeled, so you don't sell the wrong thing to the wrong person. And who cares? They'll be good on the shelf for like 3 or 4 weeks. So you can take them to the next one and sell them. And then sell each one of your kits for $25, $30, $40, whatever you want. And the people will take them home, and all they have to do is cut the bag. I took a little marker and I would draw on the bag where I want them to cut. And it was just a little half moon flat. So flat across the top and then a little half moon on the bottom. And what that would do is the flap would open up enough to let fresh air in, and the mushrooms would push the flap up and out of the way as they grew out. But the flap would naturally lay kind of closed against the substrate to keep it from drying out. And then once the mushrooms started growing, they had their little pump sprayer. They could mist them. The mushrooms didn't give a shit. They don't know that the mushrooms don't care. They're getting all of their water from the substrate, not from you misting them.
But people feel like they're doing it. Yeah.
That's why you don't give them a big bottle.
Yep.
And then they grow out. You tell them don't mist them the day you're going to harvest them because you don't want to make them soggy accidentally, right?
Right.
And then they harvest them, and then now after you've harvested them, you're going to tape over that little area that you cut and move around a little B, and move around to the B side and cut the little flap again and go again. And you can do that on all 4 sides. And then they need to rehydrate their block, which you can show them how to do. Just set the whole thing in a bucket of water and weigh it down with a couple of dishes or glasses or a brick and leave it there overnight and take it out, let it drain for a day or two, put it back into fruiting conditions, and let it go again. And they can get 7, 8, 9, 10 flushes off of them. And that makes them feel like they've gotten a hell of a deal. And then they'll buy one, like a pink oyster or a blue oyster, and then they'll come back and buy one of everything. And then you end up with people with their own little mushroom gardens. And that is, to me, really, really cool. Repeat customers is very, very big with the cut and grows that are successful. People really enjoy it. It's
they tell their friends about it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where your Instagram and your social media comes in. That's where they know to go to get it from you.
QR code on the bottom of the box, man. In the bottom of the box. Not on the bottom, but in the bottom of the box. So you just say, when they remove everything, the last thing at the bottom of the box is a QR code stuck to the bottom to take a picture of. And some swag, a couple of pictures, like a couple of stickers goes a long ways. If you're doing cut and grows, try to keep them as cute stickers. Don't do like any of our offensive stickers. So, because a lot of these are like,
I hate to say it, but if you're going to try and do a true business out of this, keep any illegal mushrooms separate from all your above ground stuff and cut it back to a
So
minimum.
far separate. Yeah.
Yes.
I wouldn't even do any of the sketchy kind of mushrooms at the same time that you're doing these. Because just because once you get this going, it is very easy to make a decent amount of money on it. Like for my little cut and grow business, not even trying, like not advertising anywhere, but like Reddit occasionally, and then just talking about it to people, and then having people just Instagram and Facebook their own just from word of mouth. I was easily bringing in 55,000 cash a year. Of that, probably about 40 of it was profit. So it was like a very good part-time job. And the way that you do that is you need to be able to make your own, moving on, substrate. You need to be able to make your own freaking substrate and your own grain spawn. And you need to be able to do it profitably. In order to do this profitably, here is what you do. Is everybody paying attention? Do not buy the pre-made stuff. Do not use soy hulls. They are more expensive. Do not buy the pre-made any mixes. You're going to make your own mix. You're going to go to the store. You're going to buy the oak and hickory pellets from Walmart for their oak hickory mix.
For your barbecue
$7 a bag. Yeah, $25 a 25-pound bag is $7. They're super, super cheap. Then you're going to go at Walmart, sometimes the rabbit pellets are super cheap. If they're not super cheap there, you go to your Tractor Supply store and buy either the rabbit pellet or the alfalfa pellets for horses. So whichever one is cheapest. Sometimes the alfalfa pellets, which are about the size of dog food for horses, are $12, $14 a bag. Sometimes the rabbit food is $10 a bag. It just depends on whichever one's cheapest. But you want alfalfa, you're going to do 70% hardwood pellets to 30% alfalfa by volume. Okay, so if you have a scoop and you put 10 the scoops of one in there, you're going to put 3 scoops of the other. All right, so or 7 scoops of one and 3 of the other to come up to 10. However you want to do the math.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to do 70-30, and that is it. If you want to, you can rehydrate that with hot water, with hot coffee. Throw in a little, like a pinch full of Epsom salt. But by itself, there's plenty of calcium in the alfalfa. There's plenty of nitrogen in the alfalfa. There's all the carbon and everything it ever needs from the oak and the hickory. Hickory has a mild antibacterial effect, so you end up with limiting your bacterial infections in your grows. And it all works really, really well. You're going to mix that together, and it smells really good. It smells like barbecue brisket. So it's not going to make your house smell bad. You're going to bring that to field capacity, stuff it in the bags, pack your bags down really good, and that is your substrate to grow on. That you're going to have, people are going to be like, well, that's da-da-da-da. Guys, that is the cheapest way to grow the most volume of mushrooms you can come up with. I've tried every way. I've tried buying hardwood pellets in bulk and trying to buy the, Master's Blend, where they add
Master's
the soy
Blend,
pellets.
Yeah.
The soy hull pellets are expensive here, and the soy hull pellets are missing some of the stuff that is in the alfalfa. The alfalfa has, when alfalfa breaks down by a biological process, it releases tricantanol, which we've talked about previously, that also your magic mushrooms really, really enjoy. It is a natural growth hormone that is going to at least increase your yields by 25 to 30%. So, and welcome, Michael Nutty. You're finally alive. But yeah, so that is how I would do it. That is the most economical way. If you can find a better, more economical way. And I've seen people go to cabinetry shops and offer to sweep the floors and get all of those, that dust, and use that. But my problem with that is you never know what they're cutting that day.
Right.
Sometimes they're cutting oak. Sometimes they're cutting cherry. Sometimes they're cutting treated wood. Sometimes they're cutting all sorts of different things. And my problem is if it's not food grade, I don't really want to put it with my mushrooms because mushrooms are extremely good at concentrating things in their tissues. So if you're going and you're picking up, some okabungo wood or okabungo, that's the stuff that's super hardwood from Africa that's toxic if you eat it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, really beautiful. People put it in cabinets and pins and knife blades and tabletops and all sorts of different things. It's a dark yellow wood, and the wood shavings are just going to look like pine. But it'll kill you. It might make your mushrooms toxic to the people who are buying them from you. So you got to be super, 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 super careful. So I personally wouldn't do that unless I owned the cabinetry shop. I also wouldn't use like wood shavings from like your chainsaw. It's not fine enough. It'll work perfectly fine if you're going to bucket tech it or grow it for yourself, but it doesn't. It's not fine enough. It doesn't. How do I do this? It doesn't
colonize evenly.
Yeah, it doesn't colonize evenly or quickly enough. It's not biologically available fast enough for the mushrooms to consistently fruit off of it like clockwork.
And for a business, we need reliability and repeatability is two big things we need for a business. Now, for home use, you can use whatever you feel like.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Home use, I would even go as far as to say is just use just straw and buckets because it's so fast.
And
so fast.
Cheap and easy, yep.
Yeah, if you're going to do if you just want to make massive, like say you had like a wedding venue that come up and they've contracted you and they're like, hey, we need a bunch of pink oysters because we're going to use them as bacon substitute. I would say get you a diaper genie, roll the tube and a shitload of straw.
Yeah,
bring the straw,
hay, whatever you got. Yep.
Hay, yeah. And just bring it up to filled capacity in coffee water, shove it down inside of that thing, and layer in grain spawn and straw, twist off the end, make a good 20-foot roll of that, and then hang it up in your spare bedroom, basement, or just outside on your back porch if it's temperate weather. It's not too crazy hot. Let it sit until it turns white, pop a couple holes in it, and day 5 or whatever, and then you'll just get massive quantities. Like harvest them with a wheelbarrow level freaking pink oysters. One flush. One really, really, really big flush. One big flush. But real fast, real easy. And that's
the way a lot of commercial operations do it too. They
pulse grow.
Yep.
Like that. Yeah. So that works out really, really well for them if they're going to pulse grow in that manner. People that if you have a contract with a restaurant or grocery store, you need a continuous grow, which means that every 3rd or 4th day is a substrate day. And every 3rd or 4th day after that is a grain spawn day. So if you grain spawn on Monday, you grain spawn on Thursday. Then you grain spawn on Monday. Then you grain spawn on Thursday. And if you do that, then you substrate on Tuesdays and Fridays. And then you get ready you cut everything on Saturday morning real early to go to your grocery stores or whatever else. Or sometimes they want them on Mondays, so you have to shift everything a little bit. But most likely
that's another thing to keep in mind if you're going to go into business with mushrooms, doing it for delivery with fresh mushrooms like that. You do not get holidays anymore. You don't get vacation days. None of that. Everything goes away.
You can't afford to. You can have employees, but I found that I am far too neurotic to trust something as delicate of an operation to somebody that's not me, that I haven't spent years training. Does that make sense? If I don't know them really, really super well, then I'm not gonna trust them to take care of it the way that I would take care of it. And so that brings us to making large amounts of economical grain spawn. And my favorite for that is oats. I see people got all different types. What do you usually do? Hello? Bueller.
There I'm back. I'm having internet issues.
Okay.
I do 99.9% oats myself.
Yeah. Oats are cheap. They're readily available. You can get them for just a horse feed oats. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Just don't get caught up with expensive grain spawn.
Right. I don't use oats because they're the best and all this. I use oats because they're the easiest to get, honestly. And it comes down to that. They're the easiest for me to get reliably. And that's why I use them. And I just got good with them.
Yeah. I like oats. I do my 3-day grain prep with them. I like to ferment them. I find that my contamination rates go way down if I ferment them. But I'm doing huge batches at a time. So it's not like I'm doing 4 or 5 quarts at a time. I will say another thing is if you are good at grain spawn and you're good at making clean grain spawn, that is another very profitable thing that you can do. And I actually kind of sold that part of my business to another guy. Is that I was doing for a long time there because I was really good at grain spawn. I did my thorough 3-day prep. I pretty much turned that into a PDF and shared it with everybody now, so there's no real mystery or magic behind that. Yeah, which it used to be secret. Is that because the grain spawn comes out so perfect, contamination free, and it colonizes so quickly and so perfectly. So I would sell these I would do 25-pound bags of gourmet grain spawn. Hey, this is a 25-pound bag of blue oyster. This is a 25-pound bag of pink oyster. This 25-pound bag of Herculinum. So like your lion's mane, stuff like that. And I would sell that to gourmet companies, to companies who are just growing mushrooms. And all they do is they do their substrate, but they didn't want to pay to have like the lab and all the equipment. And because you can get away with gourmet sub like this, the 70-30, you can get away with bucket teching this. You don't have to pressure cook this, but you do with grain spawn. So I was selling already colonized grain spawn to these companies, and some of them were quite large companies working out of like 4 or 5 sea containers. I would sell them the already colonized grain spawn for a premium because they didn't have to have the lab, they didn't have to have the pressure cookers, they didn't have to maintain their
all the time involved in pressure cooking.
Yeah, or their cultures. They didn't have to do any of that shit. They didn't have to check their cultures. They didn't have to do agar. They didn't have to do anything. All they have to do is send me $100 and get their 25 pounds of grain spawn. And to me, all I had to do was make my grain spawn and inject it in 3 places with 10 cc's of my liquid culture and set it on the shelf for 2 weeks. Yeah. So it worked great for me, worked great for them, and they always had it. I always kept it because what was the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to use it, right? In bulk anyway. So it's going to behoove you to do much larger size grain spawns. We're talking like the minimum size grain spawn I would do for gourmet would be 5 pounds, like 5-pound grain spawns. Mm-hmm. These little 1 pound, 2 pound grain spawns that a lot of people do are quart jars. If you're going to do this and you're going to do this at scale, that's profitability, you're going to want to use those 10 by 20 mushroom bags. Like the 10 by 20 by 8.
Yeah, the big guys.
Those are the ones. Yeah, those are the ones your blocks are going to want to be in. You're going to shoot for a 8 to 10 pound block of substrate, and then you're going to add to that a pound of grain spawn. And I say, wow, people who have done the sketchy mushrooms go, oh, you're only going to add a pound. Yes, dumbasses. It's a completely different way. You're not right. The substrate in gourmets is the food that the gourmets eat. The gourmets don't really eat the grain that well. They can get by and survive on it, but it's like Snickers bars, right? They don't fruit very well from it. They don't do well from it. They need to eat that. They're going to digest the wood and your alfalfa. That is their food. You're just using the grain spawn as inoculation points to get it spread throughout that substrate.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I see a lot of times that people mess up is that after they've mixed up their grain spawn into their substrate, is they pack those blocks down as hard as they can. You just squished all the air out of it and made it anoxic, buddy. You can't do that. Just pick it up by the corners, drop it a few times to settle it all out, wrap the end over the top of it, and set it back on the counter. Don't squish all the air out of it. Like, don't compress that block down to nothing because it needs to breathe. Yeah, so it's going to turn into one solid block, even if it looks a little crumbly to you. That mycelium is so hard they build boats out of it. So it's gonna turn to one big solid block. So don't worry about it. You're gonna be just fine. It'll reach out there and grab the crumbliness and pull it into one big piece. So it's okay. Just it needs air. It'll colonize so much faster without a problem for you. Right. However you do your grain prep, do it in much larger things. I strongly advise against drippy corn or any of that weird stuff with gourmet mushrooms. You're looking at too many bacterial infection issues. You're looking at expense and the ability to do it on a really big level. You try to do a 5-pound bag of drippy corn, you're going to end up with a 1/4 inch of liquid in the bottom of your bag at the time it's over. It's designed for quart jars and small containers. Right. It's not designed for bulk.
And gourmets they're close, but they're just not the same as psychoactive mushrooms. They just don't. A gourmet mushroom typically is a primary decomposer. They call it. It means it eats the wood. Yes. It eats the hard stuff. Where your psychedelics in general are secondary decomposers. They're what, as we like to say in the business, the poo lovers. They like stuff that's already been eaten by something else. And they
like the composted stuff, which is why forest flora works so well, because it's compost, right? It's basically growing in compost. So, you got your primary decomposers. Now they grow a lot faster. They fruit a lot faster than your psychedelic mushrooms do. Like they are very aggressive, but they've been domesticated a very long time. If you're coming from a psychedelic background going legit with gourmet mushrooms, the mycelium's going to freak you out. You're not going to see the big, crazy rhizomorphic stuff. You're going to see a slow white creep, like somebody's pouring white paint into your substrate and your grain. And that's just how it looks. It's been domesticated for thousands of years. It grows a very certain way at a very predictable speed and fruits a very predictable way as long as a parameter is met. And the therapeutic parameter, I guess the way I would say this is like you're between no mushrooms and no mushrooms. You have this very wide area where you can be successful. Whereas with psychedelics, you have a very narrow area where everything has to be just right for psychedelics to work. With that's the difference, I guess, between raising a wild coyote and having it not bite your face off versus raising a lopso. Okay, like your therapeutic window of success with gourmet mushrooms is huge. If you keep them between 55 degrees and 85 degrees, and you keep the humidity between 90 and 65%, they're going to fruit. And they're going to fruit.
Speaking of windows of success, I would like to make a little PSA about gourmet mushrooms. If you want to have your lab in your house, that's fine. If you want to colonize them in your house, that's fine. But fruiting them in your house at business scale is a bad idea. You want to have a separate area to fruit them.
Good thing you remembered that. Yeah, because I totally forgot about that. They sensitize you to themselves, especially the oysters. Oyster lung is a fucking thing. It's not growing in you, but you become allergic to it.
Yep, they release clouds of spores when they fruit.
Oh, ungodly amounts. Like a pink oyster will release so many spores you can watch them float through the air in the sun, and they're pink. Like everything about a pink oyster is pink. The mycelium, the culture on the dish, the fucking the actual fruit itself, the spores. If you leave it on your desk for too long and it's been fruiting and you haven't eaten it that day, that evening, you're going to have a big pink circle on your desk where it dropped a bunch of pink spores. It's going to look like you spilled Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah. When I was setting up my grow tent in my new space, the guy was helping me set it up, and I hadn't cleaned it yet. And we went inside. He says, "What is all this black stuff everywhere inside your tent?" I said, "Those are the spores from the last mushroom grow I did. I haven't cleaned them off yet. I mean, they were just everywhere. It looked like somebody had took black charcoal and just threw it all over the place in there. It was crazy."
The worst is reishi. The worst, hands down, is reishi. Those guys produce so many spores, you can scrape them off the top, and it looks like chocolate milk powder. Like you get cupfuls at a time. Definitely fruit them in an outdoor tent, under some trees, or in an air-conditioned garage or something like that you can put fans in and blow out if you get a bunch of spores in there. You're also going to want to wear like an N95 mask.
Now, with that said, I did, when I first started growing gourmets, I grew them in my house. But I had them in a big, a grow tent, like you'd buy, but a big one. And I had exhaust fans exhausting the air outside all the time of my house. It was not exhausting in my house. Yeah, that's
what I did. Yeah, I just ran.
So that is a way around that one issue. Yep.
I did run my just like for those people who grow weed, right? I got like that little. Exactly. It came with an inline fan.
A weed tent. Yep.
It's a weed tent. The same thing that I had, like a 4-inch inline, or when I was a 6-inch inline fan, and I just put it to like that 6-inch flexible ducting, and then I got the little ducting to window doodad to fit in my window. And so I could close my window on it to hold it in place, and it just constantly blew out, sucked all the spores and everything outside. Yep. Even then, I still had spores I had to wash off the inside of the tin because they're kind of sticky.
They get everywhere. They're everywhere.
Anything, it's stick. But that's one way to keep it from jacking you up. But they're sensitizing. They will, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm invincible to that stuff." Look at your long-term growers. They've been doing this for a long time. That do gourmets and that are on YouTube. They're wearing an N95 mask every time they go in their tents. And it's not so they don't breathe on their mushrooms, it's so their mushrooms don't breathe on them. And so they don't get any spores or anything like that. It doesn't cause them to have massive hay fever or allergy attacks because they are sensitizing. And they will it'll get worse over time. So the best bet is to just wear a mask from day one.
Yep, and you won't have to deal with that. I mean, it's like wearing earplugs when you're shooting a gun. It just keeps you from getting the damage in the first place. And they're not poisonous. They just they build up over time, and they are an irritant to your body, and your body starts to reject them after a while,
which causes an allergic reaction.
Mm-hmm. It's called mushroom lung when you get it, and it's just like having the bad pneumonia when you do get it, and then you can no longer work with mushrooms again.
Not a party. Not my idea of a good time. So, and then so we've kind of covered all of that fun stuff.
Yeah. Don't let it turn you off from growing mushrooms. I mean, it takes a lot to get to that point. I mean, it's not like as soon as you walk by a mushroom, it's not going to grab you. Yeah.
If you're gonna start with if you're gonna obtain cultures, buy good cultures, guys. Don't trade for them off of some sketchy guy on Reddit or whatever. But go to some of these guys like White Oak. That White Oak guy was the guy with the big beard, right? That was really
Mossy Oak.
Mossy Oak.
That guy's a great guy.
That guy's awesome. I've talked to him a couple of times. He's really.
I'm actually trying to get funding to go visit him and do a class with him. It's gonna be awesome.
Ah, sweet, man. Yeah, that's fantastic. Let us know how we can help you.
Yeah,
but definitely. But yeah, that would be buy some of his cultures. He spent a lot of time perfecting his cultures. So buying a $30 culture from him, you're not just buying. It's 2 times or 3 times expensive as the Etsy culture and the syringe, but you're buying years and years of him refining his culture.
And you have a real person that you can reach out and talk to about it and say, hey, this one is doing this, and he can talk you through any problems you're having. That's worth double the price right there. Just having somebody to help you out while you're getting started. It's awesome.
You're going to buy a real culture that he uses to do his professional mushrooms that he sells. So you're already buying a good, healthy line directly from him. And then you can keep your own cultures alive from there. Like take half of your syringe that you get from him and put it into a liquid culture, like a liquid culture quart. So you have your own from then on. But you've at least bought your starters from him. And go back to pick one or two things. If you're going to be the trumpet person, be the trumpet person. If you're going to be the oyster guy, be the oyster guy. If you're going to be the shiitake person, be the shiitake person. But you could pick two or three things. Don't try to do all of them. Like if you live in a big Asian area, I would probably do a bunch of enoki.
Yes,
enoki are fast.
Enoki.
They're easy. They grow. You can grow them super, super tall by either doing them in the ground and just keep piling hay up over the top of them, or bottle enoki or enoki in bags. Work really, really well. I've seen those. I guess they're like those fiber pots that they put tomatoes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen people grow enoki in there, like in those fiber pots, and then they just keep piling hay on top of the pots, so it's like 5-gallon pots until it's 8 inches or 9 inches thick, and then they just dump the pot out and grab the whole bundle of enoki, cut it off, and now they dip it in water a couple of times, or it's salty kind of water a couple of times so it doesn't absorb anything, and then ta-da, they have their tall enoki. You could do bottle enoki. You could do a bunch of different stuff, and you'll sell the living crap out of that to your Asian stores, or like your shiitake. If you're going to do shiitake, though, remember you're going to have big pulse flushes. You need to have an idea of what you're going to do with that. And you know what? Maybe you don't like going to farmers markets or talking to people in period. One of the ways you could do that is you could buy a freeze dryer. Freeze dryers are not crazy expensive these days. They are a few $1,000s. And that sounds like a lot of money, but they will finance them to you for like $200 a month. All right. And that is cheap. That's less than your power bill. Buy a freeze dryer and be the freeze dried shiitake person. Once you freeze dried those shiitake mushrooms, which freeze dry beautifully, and rehydrate perfectly back to shiitake mushrooms. Can't tell the difference between the freeze dried ones and the fresh ones once they're rehydrated. I can't. That you can freeze dry them and now put them into pouches of a pound of shiitake mushrooms. Freeze dries into about 1.5 up to 2 ounces of shiitake mushrooms. Put them in the freeze dry pouches that way, vacuum seal them, and then put them on your shelf for 25 years. And then, when you have a pulse, you can freeze dry, package, and put them over there. And then when you have a sale, you can literally take that package, pop it into a fucking envelope, and mail that bitch off around the world.
Yeah. And if you're doing the farmer's market thing, that freeze dryer can also make you side income by doing freeze dried candies, Skittles, Now and Later, all that kind of stuff. Those
flowers.
Yeah.
Freeze dried flowers sell really good. Freeze dried pretty much anything, honestly.
Yeah. And you can package that stuff up real pretty and throw it out there on your table with your mushrooms and make a little more money.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's all about the packaging. The packaging sells more than the product. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
People eat with their eyes first. They eat with their eyes first. If it doesn't look pretty, they don't want it.
Yeah, like your cut and grow block. If it's just a big 10-pound ugly sawdust block in a bag, you're not going to sell many of those. You take that bag.
Yeah, it's just a used Walmart bag. Type would cut it.
Yeah, make it smaller. Find a pretty box to put it in. Throw some pretty stickers on it, and it will sell 10 times better. It's weird, but it's the truth. And
the cool thing about that is that you could take a couple of those blocks, cut them 3 days before you go to the farmer's market, and have them sitting out there. So you have most of your blocks under your table where it's nice and shady, right? Or in your trailer or in your truck or in coolers where it's nice and shady. And then you have a line of 5 or 6 blocks out there. But block number 1 in the front, so you have your line of blue oysters. Block number 1 in the front is one that's already cut, that's 3 days old, so it's already fruiting, sitting up in its little box saying, cut and grow, as a demonstration of what they look like. Mm-hmm. Sitting right there. And the next one's a pink, a yellow, so forth and so on down the line. and people love that shit. So many people want to buy your demonstration one. It's like, no, you can't buy the demonstration one. These are exactly the same. This one's just cut 3 days ago, but they want that one. And it's like, all right, just wait until the end of the day. If you can have it at the end of the day, you can buy it at the end of the day. But I try not to sell my demonstration one right off the bat, so that people know what the blue oysters look like or what pink oysters look like and things like that. So, and then it helps to have like a little sheet printed off with like 4 or 5 recipes on each one. Like, hey, this is pink oysters can be used as here's a sheet that's underneath your pink oysters. And it's like, if they buy a pink oyster, they get a pink oyster sheet. If they buy a yellow oyster, they get a yellow oyster sheet. Each one has 4 little ways to use those mushrooms. Cheap as heck to print. Go get them. They're like, you can get 1 million copies, print it yourself, really easy and cheap. But like for the pink oyster, I tell them, hey, if you fry these up in like lard or butter, you can use them. They fry up in crisp like bacon, and they're great bacon substitute.
I have made bacon out of mushrooms, and it's really good, by the way. Just say that.
Yeah, it works really startlingly well. And like your yellow oysters are fishy. So they do really good with like your fish soups, your fish stews, anything you want to add a little bit of like a sea flavor to.
Yeah, and then your lion's mane is slightly lobstery flavored. Slightly.
Yeah, it's like lobstery crabby. I've seen people that break up that and put it and use it to make like substitute crab rolls or lobster rolls.
Yes, I have a lobster roll recipe for lion's mane, and if anybody steals it, I'm coming for you. I'm just going to say that right now.
But so you have a couple of these, like, one for yellow, one for blue, one for pink, one for lion's mane. So if they buy that cut and grow kit, they not only get the kit, but you hand them that little piece of paper with like 4 little simple recipes you just Googled up and threw on the paper.
And you can even list some of the medical benefits of each type of mushroom too, because a lot of people are in it for the medical side.
Yeah. And so you just include that with there. It's like a value-added product. And people go crazy over it. They love it. Oh, man, this is so cool. Well, you know what? Let me get that one too. Let me get that one too. But keep my price point for me was $25 for a 2-pound cut and grow kit. I maybe had $1.95 in the whole thing because I make my own stickers, and I would buy sheets of pre-cut stickers, like from I have a whole bunch of them here. Where do you get these things from? They're I'm just opening up things. Avery, like you get them from online. Avery is the brand, and so I would buy the stickers. You go on to avery.com, the template, you design your sticker, you print it off, you get a shitload of stickers, and so you can put them all over your box. See, it's not like you're paying a bunch for stickers. Your stickers are probably $0.01 or $0.02 a piece. Yeah. Your bag is, if you buy bulk bags, your bags are, I don't know, maybe less than $1 a piece. And your little boxes, if you buy the boxes on somewhere like Temu, AliExpress, if you have to, Amazon, you're probably going to be paying about $1 a piece for them. On AliExpress, I think I paid 33 cents a piece for the boxes. They came flat, and we just had to fold them ourselves. So maybe $1.85, $1.90, including physical labor, because cement mixer. I'm mixing everything in a cement mixer. It's literally crack a beer, dump it into the cement mixer, press go. When it's done, tilt the handle down, let it just fall out into a big tub, and it's done. Then rehydrate it with boiling water in a cooler and let it sit for a while, and it's done. And then take it out and shove it in the bags, and it's done. So, super, super fast, super, super easy, super, super cheap. And if you follow the recipe that we gave you for substrate earlier, your substrate is just maybe 13, 14 cents for like a 2 or 3 pound bag.
Right.
It's so super cheap.
Like a 40-pound bag of your wood pellets is going to give you, God, I don't even know. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to do the math, but I mean, once you hydrate them, you get even more out of it. So, because those things expand, like triple their volume, I want to say, at least.
Oh, easily, yeah. And most of it, your weight is based on the whole weight of everything, like with all of it hydrated. So I'd say I probably got about 120 2-pound cut and grow kits off of, or like 2.25 pound. Or I like to make them a little bit bigger. So 2.25 pound cut and grow kits off of one batch of the big bag of the cheap oak and hickory and the bag of rabbit. Yeah, about that. So maybe 13, 14 cents in substrate. So economically, cut and grow kits work phenomenal. And this also works for your substrate to grow stuff on if you're going to do, if you're going to actually sell your mushrooms. Yeah. That's a full-time job.
It's a lot of work. It can be more profitable in the long run if you have great customers and you're willing to hustle. But boy, you better be ready to put in the work if you want to sell fresh mushrooms, because it is not an easy job.
And you got to go and physically see your customers every week. They appreciate it when you show up and you say, hey, and you deliver the stuff personally. And you go, hey, I have X, Y, and Z. And I found in those situations, I always take like 25% more, because if they order just like a ton of pink oyster, then I like to open the cooler and go like, hey, did you see what else I got? Look at my beautiful black pearl king oyster, or look at these king trumpets, or look at this. And they go, wow, those are really pretty. Yeah, no, give me 5 or 6 pounds of those. And then your mushrooms, it's really going to depend on what your market is, but they go 20, 25 bucks a pound. Pretty easy. Yeah.
And it takes a lot of hustling though, because these restaurants they're not out there getting crap. They want really good stuff, and there's other people that are going to be competing with you for their business. So,
and me, I would rather just not have to play that game, and so do the cut and grow kits. And you'll hear me advocate for those a million times, but they work so well. You can ship them. You just literally walk over to the shelf where you've already had them made, pick up a pink oyster one, shove it in a medium-sized shipping box, print your label off online, and there you go. It's gone.
Yeah, and you can start this at farmers markets, but that little sticker with the QR code that gets the people to your site, that's what keeps your business going, because people are going to start ordering from you, and pretty soon 90% of your business is going to be on or through the mail.
Oh yeah, it started at the farmers market.
Judy buys one, and Jennifer and Annie want one too, and they're like, well, here, just take your pick of this phone, you can get one. They don't have to go to the farmers market.
The QR code thing was my wife's idea. It wasn't my idea. She was a total freaking genius on that kind of crap.
Well, V is a smart woman.
Take it out. Yeah, like when they take it out, the last thing they see in the bottom of when they check the bottom of the box is a QR code that says "Scan me" for social media. They scan it. They see that they get 25% off the next order if they upload pictures of their grow, and say where they bought it from, and so they link to your Facebook page, and now you give them a little code to get 25% off any orders online. And what they do is then their friends in Florida or all over the world see your cut and grow kit and go, wow, that's really cool, Stacy. Where'd you buy that? And she goes, oh, I got it from these guys. They're just so nice. And they go, well, and they go like, well, I have a discount code. You want to buy some stuff? And they're like, yeah, let's buy some stuff. And so now you're shipping stuff to Florida, and you're shipping stuff to New York and all over the place. And it started off that we did it at shows, and within 4 months, 5 months, we never went to another show. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, you had so much orders, you didn't know what to do with them all, right?
Yeah.
What do they call it? 7 degrees of separation. I think they say that if you split it up with 7 people, you can meet everybody in the world. I think it started out with Kevin. It's like a funny Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, it was 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, but originally it was 7 degrees of separation. That there's seven ways back to meet anybody in the world, or connect anybody in the world from anybody, and it's that true. All you have to do is get them to share your stuff.
Can you go get me a red one? Yeah. Thank you. I didn't even know I had a monster in here. Nice. I looked over and I was like, holy shit, there's a dragon. You're a tritops. Say you're a tritops.
Triceratops.
Triceratops. You got a dragon. Can you give me a red one, please?
Now you made me wish for a monster. That's how you are.
It's a Coke. It's a Coke. I'm going to get Coke Zero.
Yuck.
It's a Coke Zero. They're not as bad as regular Cokes.
Well, I'm a construction worker by
Monster.
trade. I'm going to go grab a Monster so I can sleep tonight. But
yeah,
luckily,
I had one earlier.
I have a gaming fridge right by my PC, so I should be able to grab it in like 3 seconds.
Mine got moved to the front room because it's currently an aquarium stand. But yeah, oh, you're so smart. You're so smart, Tiniest. Yes, you're the best.
This is my last one that's not mango flavored. I hate mango ones.
Say dragon.
Jacket.
You dragon. All right.
Man, she's growing up. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. No, she is. Like, back in the day when I used to use her as slave labor consistently for, like, she likes to stir things.
I've still got the very first box that you ever sent me with her decorations on it. I keep that. She decorated the whole box for me.
That was before she could walk, bro.
I know. I think her hand is traced on it somewhere, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's just tiny little 2-inch little hand. But that was one thing that we did is that, like, the gourmet business. It was a very family gourmet business. My daughter is involved in all aspects of it. Like, she would decorate the boxes for me when she was like couldn't even walk yet, little baby. I'd just give her markers and hand her a box while I was in there packing boxes, and she would just draw all over the box, like go crazy for it. People loved it, and so I'd be like, they were like, "Oh, we got a box. We know it's from you guys because it has your daughter's writing all over it." And she drew smiley faces in her hands, and yeah. And
and I'm a grumpy old man, and it made my day when I saw it.
But yeah, that's the great thing about doing gourmets too, guys. Is you can be completely above board. But I'm gonna go ahead and stress it again, like we said at the very beginning, is that if you're gonna do gourmets, do just gourmets. Don't blur the lines between the twos, because eventually somebody's gonna want to come and look, or you're gonna have, or the news is gonna want to come and do a story on your business or something, and you're gonna have pictures of magic mushroom shit everywhere, and bongs and weed growing crap, and you're going to get in trouble because that shit's going to go on the news.
Yep.
And you're going to get raided. So if you're gonna do gourmets and you're gonna sell them, you need to be above fucking board. Otherwise, I could tell you guys that a million times, and there's going to be some jackass who's like, "No, I'll just never let anybody come over." And then they're in the back of one of their pictures is going to be a fucking bong or a goddamn, like a fucking weed plant or a grow of a bunch of magic mushrooms, and they're going to get their ass raided.
Yeah. What are those mushrooms there? Well, those are special gourmets. And that doesn't fly. People know what they are when they see them.
Yeah. So, excuse me. Yeah, you're going to get your butt kicked. If you're going to make it a business, you're gonna make it a business, and you're gonna go whole hog with it.
Right. And if you like, I need the magic mushrooms in my life for your personal use, before you start your business, grow a bunch of them and freeze dry them and store them away, and then just stop growing them. I mean, that's the best way, honestly.
Or grow them under your bed, or like grow them in your fucking closet, or do something. Like, keep them
somewhere away from your business.
Yeah, like keep them somewhere away from your damn business. Don't intermingle the shit. Like do it sneaky, like you're trying to hide from your mom.
What's the old saying? Don't shit where you eat. That's a good way to put it.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're like, I have a friend who I taught how to do the cut and grow kits, and I basically just kind of turned that shit over to them when I had to stop because we moved and my lab went away the last 2 years, which God, it hurts.
I felt your pain.
Hurts. But I get my lab back.
I'm so excited for you. And
we closed on the new farm, and I'm going to be growing the shit out of gourmets. I've got so many orders for gourmet stuff and cut and grows, and a lot of people are.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say my new farm is coming along, not as fast as I want it to, but it's coming along. I'm excited too.
So, we're kicking butt. We're going to do a bunch of gourmets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just so that we can kind of round out the farm with everything else. We can offer like those specialty, like the freeze dried lion's mane, stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be kick butt. So that's where we're at.
Look, a dragon.
That is a dragon, and it's the coolest dragon.
Whoa.
That's Zizu.
That's Zizu.
It's Zizu.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So and the good thing about it is, man, let's talk about value-added products. One more thing, another way to market stuff is you don't have to just market just the mushrooms. Like mushroom salts are a big thing. Mushroom spices are a big thing. Your dehydrated mushrooms, whether they're powders or they're just dehydrated whole mushrooms, are a big thing.
I even have dehydrated mushrooms. I make my own mushroom steak seasoning, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It adds a nice umami to them.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that's what when I think about that stuff, dehydrated mushrooms, I think more about like your lion's mane for the supplement side of it, and I also think a lot about your shiitake. Now we didn't really cover a lot of shiitake. So there's two different ways to grow a shit ton of shiitake. Right? There is big giant bags, as big bag as you can grow, and you're going to colonize that in just the same substrate that we've been talking about, your 70-30, and then you're going to colonize that with your grain spawn, then leave it the hell alone until it looks like hell. It should have a bunch of metabolites and brown streaks and just look dirty. At that point, you're going to cut it open. Just cut the damn thing open. Don't cut a hole in it. Just literally remove the whole top of the bag. Just cut the bag in a circle and set it on your on your table, your desk, whatever. Put it in a fruiting condition, put it in your tent, and let it just go to crap. They don't form they don't form little what are you calling them, man? They don't bud like the same way.
They don't have primordia.
Yeah, they don't form primordia. Shiitake are weird. They don't form like little bitty micro mushrooms before they get bigger. They don't do any of that. What they do is they just bud. It looks like a potato growing out of the surface. It literally just out of the surface and then leaves a big old divot. They look kind of gross when they're doing it.
Yeah, they honestly, shiitake do not make good cut and growth.
That's why
they're not pretty.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think something good to eat was coming out of that thing when they grow. I mean, they're ugly.
No, they are. Neither do reishi, because reishi is really ugly too.
You know what is a beautiful one that I've never thought of doing a cut and grow on is the chestnut mushroom. Those things are gorgeous.
Oh, dude, those are cool looking, man. Yeah. Oh. I haven't done it either. I think you should try it, man.
I think I will. I should have some chestnut. I'll check and see. If not, I'll call you up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the shiitake, they do that, and then they're gonna fruit like crazy, just bubbling off of that thing, like potatoes pushing through the surface, all over it. Split it all open. Then you're gonna take that entire block, which will now weigh. It was a 5-pound block. Now it weighs less than a pound. And just soak it in water.
Styrofoam, yeah.
Yeah. Just poke a bunch of holes in it with a steak knife. That's what I do. And then submerge it in water with a weight on top of it. Because it's going to float like styrofoam.
I even tried injecting water with a freaking meat injector.
Oh, no, it just spurts back out, man.
Yeah,
I tried that. The best way is just to put a weight on it in a bucket of water. And just leave it overnight. And then it'll flush again and again. And you can get a lot of flushes off a shiitake block. Like 7, 8, 9, 10 flushes off them if you keep soaking it and going. So there's one way to do your shiitakes. The other way to do your shiitakes is plugs. So you will go and you'll buy these little 1/4-inch dowels, or you can buy a big 1/4-inch dowel and cut it up into 1/2-inch pieces. Right? And then you can go ahead and get you a drill bit and just drill a whole shitload into an oak log or any hardwood log. a whole bunch of shitload of holes, just a frickin' ton of holes. You take your shiitake plugs and you just treat them like grain spawn, or mix them with your grain spawn.
Yeah.
Until the whole thing is inoculated. Then you're going to take your plugs out and pound them into those holes in that log. And I like to use pretty fresh logs, so they're pretty wet on the inside. And then take that log and just go set it somewhere. Just set it out in the wilderness, in the backyard, somewhere in the shade, so it doesn't dry out in the sun. Water it, put a sprinkler on it, water it, whatever you water your grass, and leave it alone. Now, one thing the shiitake will take forever to fruit unless you follow this one simple trick. Shiitake primarily fruit after a tree has fallen or been hit by lightning. So, two different ways you can make a shiitake fruit, like your shiitake log fruit, after you let it sit there for at least 90 to 180 days. Is that you could pick the log up over your head and drop it, and just let it go bam, 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 and hit the ground. Or you can go along with a like the backside of an axe, or the backside of an axe or a sledgehammer, and just whack the crap out of it every few feet all the way down. Just slap it like a rented mule and just simulate a tree fall, and then it will boom fruit within 5 to 7 days. It'll start fruiting and then just fruit like crazy for several months. Or you can cattle prod the shit out of it, which I've done many times. If I have a block of shiitake I need this to fruit right now, even though it's looking ugly, I've cut the top off of it, I spray with a little bit of water, and then run a taser or a cattle prod across the side of it. It just shock the shit out of it. And ta-da! Within 48 hours to 72 hours, I've got buds coming off of it. It just goes, oh shit, now's the time to do something.
I've had those shit moments where I'm thinking, if somebody saw me in my tent in here slapping the shit out of my shiitake bag.
Yeah, slap the crap out of your shiitake bag. Just like a rented mule, man.
Yeah,
literally just bam, back.
Yeah. What did you say to me? Whack!
What'd you call my mama?
I always like to joke, shiitake like it rough.
They do. And so that gets your shiitake fruity. And I guess that's kind of one of those pieces of information that you kind of only really hear here or in Japan. Like, I thought it was relatively common knowledge. Because in Japanese literature, if you go and read in the Japanese language, if you go and have it translated with Google Translate, you can read a lot of their their growing methods, and it always talks about dropping the logs or hitting the logs or slapping the bags or shocking the logs. And you come over here to America and they're like, treat it like a gentle baby. And over there, the Japanese are like, you whore, you fruit right now. That's
crazy.
Racist.
Yeah,
but
slightly.
Wasn't meant to be. We love our Japanese listeners. If you would like to give us a soundbite of you whore, you fruit right now, using your best Japanese accent, we will turn that into a ringtone and use it relatively often on the show.
I would love to go to Japan someday. That'd be so awesome. But we don't want to get on a tangent.
Yeah, I was in Okinawa, but on the military base for a week, and it was cool. But they don't release. They didn't really release us as murdery human beings into the public because we were the actual door kickers and shit. And they're like, yeah,
you guys stay over there.
We've seen what happens when you guys decide to go drink and party. People die.
Yeah,
so,
and Japan has way stricter laws for that kind of stuff. You don't want to mess around over there.
Yeah,
that's why they don't have much crime, because when you do commit a crime, you pay.
Yeah. But so it was really cool. That's how you can go ahead and get your now for a little tip on the colonization of your Herculinums. So your lion's manes, they look wispy. It's gonna look like light, fluffy clouds.
They will fool you.
It's not going to look like it won't turn solid brick white unless it's so ready to go and suffocate to death and die. It'll look wispy, like you're looking through stretched cotton ball.
Yeah, lion's mane will literally fruit before you even put it into fruiting conditions if you aren't careful. It wants to grow. It's crazy.
It does. It very much wants to fruit. So it's going to look super wispy. Like if you pick up the bag, it'll look like wispy is the best way I could say. I don't know how else to describe it.
Cotton.
How else can you describe it? Cotton. Yeah.
Like the stuff you pull out of the aspirin bottle off the top of it, kind of like that wispy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not gonna look like solid white like all the other mushrooms you're ever gonna grow do. It's gonna look wispy, and then all of a sudden, boom! It just fruits, and that's just how it grows because it grows all those little teeth on it from all those little wisps. So that's just how it grows, man. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, you'll be looking at your substrate like, Jesus, this ain't ever going to colonize, and the next day you have fruits growing out of the top of it. And you're like, oh my goodness, I got to get this thing fruiting now.
Yeah.
Yep.
If the entire bag is uniformly wispy, it's ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah. If it's already turned white, that means it's already fruited on the inside of the bag.
Yep.
And so, yeah, lion's mane, that's a little weird one. Your pink oysters, the mycelium is pink. Don't freak out. The metabolites on it are pink. People always go like, oh, it turned pink. It's bad. It's lipstick mold. No, dude, you're growing pink oysters. They're pink.
A lot of your gourmets are not beautiful, white, wispy like your psychedelics are. They're different colors. They're brownish. They're yellowish. I mean, they're not all the same. You got to be prepared for that.
Yeah. So, other than that, I think we've kind of covered everything.
Yeah.
I don't think we've really forgotten anything. On Agar, that it's all Tomatos Grove. On Agar, all your gourmets are Tomatos. There's none of them are rhizomorphic. If you've got rhizomorphic stuff going on with the gourmet, you don't have a gourmet on there. You've got some sort of contamination.
Yep.
Hi.
Excellent.
You're so beautiful. You want to come up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
What color is a dragon?
It's a color as a dragon. You're our other co-host. Yay!
Tiniest has graced us with her presence.
Yeah. So we're about going to call this episode here. I think it's been a great episode. If anybody has any sort of questions, feel free to hit us up on our Discord. Feel free to shoot us an email. That'll be FAFOCult@gmail.com. If you'd like to check out our Etsy, it'll be FAFOCult.etsy.com. On our Venmo, if you'd like to send us some money, tip us. Tipping cultures all over the place. But we will use that money to keep this show going because right now it comes completely out of my pocket. That will be at FAFOCult. That'll be the @FAFOCult will be the Venmo, and then the $ FAFOCult will be the Cash App. Yeah, if you'd like to go ahead and say something nice about this, everything today, our nice thing of the day, and then we'll call it an episode.
Absolutely. I have a quote that I don't remember who the heck said it, so we're going to say I said it. And it's about business. If you're looking to make $1 million, don't do something that's going to make you $1 million. Find something that's going to make you $1 and repeat it 1,000,000 times. It's way easier.
Yeah, that's for certain. I'd say that if you're going to go in a gourmet business all the way, do it. Put your heart into it. Give it a shot. You're going to make money at it if you follow the directions we gave you here. If you don't get sucked into trying to do it some weird super bougie way, you're going to make some money at it. If you do it how we've kind of lined it, and because it's coming from years of experience here, guys, it's not just we're like, this is the only way to do it. We're not saying it's the only way to do it. We're saying that having tried it a freaking ton of different ways, this is the way that brought me to where I make an extra $55,000 a year on the side without having to talk to another human being. Right? Just basically play with my daughter a few days a week in the backyard with the cement mixer, which let her push the on and off button, which she loves, and then put stuff in boxes, cute boxes, let her put stickers on cute boxes, and put cute boxes on the shelf, and then once a week have the mail carrier come and physically pick up the packages from the house. And that's it. And that's extra money.
Yep.
So, and that's how I do it, and it works great. And you can do it however you want, but find your niche. And you got this, guys. You can do this. Anybody can do this.
And if you out there decide to take this journey, come over to our FAFO Discord, and if you have any questions, reach out to us. We're always here. We're always online. And if we're not online, somebody there will be there to help you. It's a great community.
Yeah. We're happy to help you. We love our listeners. We love to help people. We love to talk to you guys about mushrooms. If we didn't, we wouldn't get on here once a week and talk to you guys about mushrooms.
Right. It's the greatest.
So, yes, basically my positive thing of the day is going to be you can do it, guys. I have faith in you. If you just follow the simple, easy way and don't get distracted trying to do everything at once. If you're going to do cut and grows, do cut and grows. If you're going to do fresh, do fresh. Yeah. If you're going to do preserved, do preserved. If you're going to grow for restaurants, grow for restaurants. Yeah. Don't try to grow for restaurants and do farmers market and do cuts and grows and do preserved mushrooms. Unless you're willing to spend 365 days a year doing nothing but mushrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Pick something, learn everything you can about it, and go at it hardcore. And then if you want to expand later, expand after you've already set up with the first one. Add it in increments.
Exactly.
That's the easiest way. And then you know what you can handle. You can say, geez, I'm not busy enough. I can add a little bit more here. Don't if you do it all at once, it's going to overwhelm you, you know?
Yeah.
And you'll quit.
Exactly. But we have faith in you. We love our listeners. Thank you, New Zealand. You guys are picking up a whole bunch of listeners from New Zealand. I picked up like 28 extra listeners, unique listeners on last episode alone. So pretty cool. Good job, New Zealand.
New Zealand,
there, guys.
What are they? Yeah. Are those limeys in New Zealand? Or no.
Kiwis.
Kiwis. There we go. I knew it was some kind of fruit.
The limeys are the British. They kicked the British out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm American. I'm a dumb American.
Now you can't go visit. Now I can't take you to go visit over there. So they'll just stab you.
I want to go there too. Dang it. I want to see where they had the world's fastest Indian at, man. That'd be awesome. Burt Monroe.
Oh, yeah. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Love our listeners. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you in the Discord. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Good night. Have a good one.
I think that went really well.
I thought so, too.